Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
One year since Medicaid expansion began, Medicaid spending in North Carolina jumped from $21.5 billion to $27.8 billion. So that's a 29% increase in 1 year. Let's see if I've got something. Okay. That is huge. So this is a runaway train. Already it is a runaway train. Now, before the expansion, Medicaid spending already rose 52% over the 10-year period preceding that. And now look at the rate. It's skyrocketing. Yeah.
We're not even talking about the cost of doing business. That's just, we're not talking about 300 Correct. Satellite offices, which Roy Cooper bragged about opening for 100 counties, and all the employees that's going to employ, which he bragged about when this was all going on. He was so excited for more government jobs. We're not even talking about that yet.
Now I think we know why the Senate deliberately and willfully put that shit out there with H67, which is going to bring in copious amounts of unvetted foreign doctors from high-risk nations, Iran, China, Pakistan, Gaza. And we try to tell them.
Well, you can't fix stupid. That's what they always say.
Well, we tried to tell them, I think that was like 6 months ago. And now Dodge came out with a whole new, I think HHS put this up on their website, of catastrophic Medicaid fraud all over the place. And we're going to review some of that.
Doge.
I like to call it Dodge. I don't know why.
I know.
Doge sounds like a little bit too, zhuzhy for me.
Sounds like Elon. It sounds like
Elon.
Elon.
Yeah, it really does, actually. So this is Brian Balfour. He's with the Locke Foundation, and he's really on this a lot. And I think this is updated numbers. So more than 700,000 able bodies on Medicaid expansion. That's like 23%.
Almost 23. Yep.
Yeah.
And the qualifiers mostly were mental disorders. They're able-bodied, but they claim depression.
Well, this is going to depress you then, because we're going to get into it. 97% in 4 years is the total. So 3 million, an increase of 38% in just 5 years.
Well, you know what this is really. And I think they really thought they were going to get everything they wanted with COVID, and it didn't work. So let's do Medicaid expansion and COVID and see what we can do. We're going to get socialized medicine one way or the other.
Correct. Well, we already have it in North Carolina, and it's probably no coincidence we have the most expensive healthcare in North Carolina because of that.
True.
So we just talked about Medicaid expansion, but the fraud is out of control. I think we'll just go ahead and show, because you just intimated with the mental health stuff. I'll put it up here. Some of the stuff that they're finding is, it's insane. Speaking of mental illness, in one state, one billing code, ladies and gentlemen, in Medicaid fraud went from 4.6 to 85.6 million for one CPT code.
Related to autism, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's another one of those disabilities that now they've qualified for Medicaid expansion. And listen, I don't begrudge someone who has a child or a relative that has autism. As you well know, I have a goddaughter that does, but she's able-bodied. She drives a car. She goes to school.
But these are for kids. So in other words, how are we, and I'm going to show you a couple more because this is by no means exhaustive. So,
Right.
How does this happen? This is another state. The first state was Nebraska, guys. This is Minnesota. There's another behavioral intervention program, autism services, that went, I think this might be it, 83 to 342. Is this? No.
Yeah. I think it might. One is Nebraska.
No, it's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Minnesota. Man, Dutch is all over this.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to interview him after this show, and we're going to air it on another day. But he is absolutely on this.
700% increase in 5 years, Sloan.
So cannot be a 700% increase in the actual, they will say, well, no, there's finally coverage for this particular thing, right? But this is fraud. They found out this is actual fraud.
Right. And I wonder how the prescription part of that fraud, because if that's just the diagnosis part, the prescription part has to be outrageous.
Oh, well, yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because we like to present the problem here and what the legislature can do and what we can do and why it's a big deal. So when you look at Medicaid, there is a federal component, guys, which is also your tax dollars. There is a state component. Healthcare fraud is absolutely happening here. I'm going to play a case for you. There's hundreds. And what it does is it takes money out of the general fund that we have to come up with. And that directly takes, that also higher administrative costs. So when we have to pay the auditor, inspectors, all that, it does all that. But it crowds out priorities. Yeah. Schools suffer the most.
Not only, but listen, it's kind of that's the double-edged sword. Schools will try to enroll kids in some type of Medicaid program that let's be honest, they do. We know they are. That's why they want those school nurses and they want to do these mental health things. That's what they want. But on top of it, not only are they enrolling, but then who's bearing the cost of it? You and I are.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, I don't know what kind of oversight they have in the schools because it's, in the schools.
Right. And we're not allowed to know because HIPAA and school policy. And then they got that FERPA stuff. That's another regulation set of rules.
Well, it's a rule, but they don't really follow it a lot, right? Because they're asking
only when it helps them. Oh, they only follow it.
Right. They're asking kids, what's your gender at home? What's your, would your parents vote for? They violate FERPA all the damn time. So schools are suffering the most. So if we have to pay, let's say, what is the rate? Is it $16 million a year that we pay just off the top in this state for Medicaid fraud?
I don't know the actual number. I know that we are at 12%. Last time I checked, we were at 12% Medicaid fraud, which is 2% above what the threshold is. So I will get you the number, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
I think I remember something like that. Don't hold us to it, but it's too damn much.
It is.
And that money goes to raises for teachers. Okay, so the three things that are not being done that need to be done. Oversight. We're seeing a lot of oversight into schools. We're seeing the oversight hearings in the McFadden, the sheriffs.
Yeah.
Like it. When it comes to Medicaid fraud, oh, no. I mean, we're losing potentially hundreds of millions of dollars here. Stiffer penalties, too.
Yeah, but I think this is one of those areas where I think the House could or the legislature could have done something specifically for the auditor's office because let's be honest, they're the ones that are going to really do the audits on this. They could have given them, not just money, judicial prosecutors that are tied to the auditor's office specifically. like a law arm to help.
Well, here's what can happen. So the legislation, I mean, they can conduct their own investigation, but they can refer prosecutions. They don't have to refer it to Jeff Jackson, you guys. They can refer it to a specific county DA to prosecute. So let's say there's a health department or there's a health system that's doing things, and they're located in multiple counties. Well, you're not going to do it in Charlotte, right? So maybe you have it done
in Mint Hill.
Maybe, I'm just saying, maybe you shop around for a prosecutor, but legislators, there's a lot that needs to be done at the state level instead of just waiting for them to get busted. So check this out. I looked at this. Yes, this is Chat GPT. By the way, appropriate use of Chat GPT. I'm not uploading my medical records for a second opinion. I'll tell you about that in a second.
Who does that?
I'm going to tell you about that. So class 1 felony, that's the lowest class of felony for provider fraud. The lowest, the bare minimum. Okay.
That's only going to get you, like, that's going to get you a slap on the wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you got a bunch of them, unless you have 900 of them, you know, it's going to be a slap on the wrist.
Well, I say ChatGPT or Gronk or whatever, because Elon posted today, hey, everybody, why don't you upload your medical records to Gronk and we'll give you a second opinion?
No, hell no. I'm not doing that.
Well, first thing I thought was probably the biggest class action lawsuit in American history.
Well, you know, that's like giving access to a social worker to be your therapist. Those are not, they don't get to hide behind the shield if somebody wants to take you to court.
Well, I mean, like a data breach or something. I mean, you don't ever, like, these people using ChatGPT for a therapist and for a, you know, their health records or whatever. I mean,
no 23andMe, no Grok or Chat for that,
no.
GPT Chat for that. None of that. We're not doing that.
That's where you cannot have AI replace it. And for him to say that, I mean, guys, you can, I mean, what if ChatGPT or Gronk gives you like the wrong diagnosis?
Well, and you know, when we, in technology, we've been working with AI for years, right? And sometimes you have to train AI, but we constantly say, and it's a name or jargon in the business, that AI hallucinates, meaning it makes things up that isn't there. And you have to say, that's not right. That's not true. And I know it isn't.
Look, it makes sense to me. But I want to show you the prosecutor for Russ Ferguson, right? For the Middle District.
Yeah,
Russ. Okay. He recently, there's a huge bust of unbelievable Medicaid fraud. He's going to give us an
North Carolina Attorney General Jeff Jackson, who we work very closely with very often, and that's the Crystal Sherelle Jackson case.
This is crazy.
Ms. Jackson held herself out as a clinical addiction specialist.
See?
She also had a purported mental health agency and a clinical laboratory.
Right.
She charged with billing North Carolina Medicaid over $1.9 million in psychotherapy and drug testing services that either weren't necessary or were just never provided at all. What's particularly egregious about her conduct is the beneficiaries whose Medicaid numbers she used never knew they were being used. Many of those beneficiaries were dead. Some of them were incarcerated, and some of those beneficiaries could have gone to get necessary services and found they had already capped out from Medicaid because they had been fraudulently used by Ms. Jackson, according to our allegations.
Okay, and so when you expand Medicaid to now 23% of able-bodied working people, and by the way, there's no end to the program. There's no stopping it. Next year, we might be talking about 800,000, right? Medicaid fraud is prolific.
Oh, and being able to use mental codes for mental disabilities is really sad because, you know, I could walk in and say I'm depressed and all of a sudden there we are. We're starting a bill on, I don't use Medicaid, but if I did, someone, you know, able-bodied person who just has depression, they could bilk them out of everything just for one session.
It's I mean, the whole system is set up for fraud. And you're right. This
Mm.
is socialized medicine under Republicans. Why would I say such a thing? That's so mean. Because throughout this
Right.
whole thing, this is early on, Phil Berger, who is now running, he wants your vote. He says he is the Trump guy. Yeah,
That's
he's
an
running,
old picture of him, Sloan.
running against Sam. Well, I'm telling you, do you know how long this guy got into office in what, 2010?
Oh,
Under
really?
right, we're going to stop. He got in. We're going to stop Obamacare. That's how he actually got in. Him and Tim Moore. And then he flipped, of course, because he's getting money to want to push expansion for a long time. He's been the guy. So let me show you him. Here he is at this signing. Now, if you're pictured at a signing with Roy Cooper, like your senator there is right there behind him,
Yeah, Kevin Corbin.
you should be removed. If you're a Republican, you should be removed. And here he is. He was supporting it with Cooper. And that's really what he's known for. He's known for handing Roy Cooper the biggest defeats of his career. He is.
His defeats or assists? I mean,
Pardon me, assistance.
I was going to say, and it's funny you should say that because, yeah, well, you can see it. You can tell that they're all together on this. I mean, the fact that, Kevin Corbin, when all of the stuff happened up here, he was right there with Josh Stein and Roy Cooper. The same with Phil Berger. There's a group of them that, are establishment-y on both sides that they're just chummy. Tom Tillis is one of them. We can see it. It's very obvious. And they're screwing us.
Oh, it's the uniparty. And what I love about them is you and I have been attacked multiple times from Phil Berger's office. When we've called any of this we get attacked a lot. We're going to be talking about that later in the show. But we've been attacked for just putting the truth out there.
Well, the weak people do that. They'll attack the people that tell the truth. That's normal. We're used to it. I'm not going to back down from anything I've said.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, facts are facts.
But what can the legislature do now? Here we are in this predicament, Sloan. What can we do now?
Well, you can put a workers requirement in there because when Biden was in, you couldn't put that in there. Now you can. I don't see it anywhere. In fact, I do see a lot of people in DHS and others complaining about the cost of putting in a workers requirement. It's going to take people to oversee that, et cetera. I think that's a bullshit argument.
It is a bullshit argument, and I'll tell you why. Because when Roy Cooper was in office, the one thing he bragged about was all these satellite offices. Well, if you're going to have a satellite office, have somebody in it that's verifying they're working.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you're going to have
the employment office.
You're going to have foreign doctors there. You think they're not going to be committing Medicaid fraud? Oh, and the best part is they won't have any supervision.
That still blows my mind. But you know what? Let's
make it up.
Yeah. Well, and we know Phil Berger is not just big on Medicaid expansion. He's big, and this is the bigger concern is let's talk into about the gateway drugs that he also thinks are good news.
We'll watch this.
Than drinking alcohol. In fact, 18 million Americans use marijuana 21 days or more per month. That's 5 times a week. Now, this reverses course after the damage has been done from the New York Times. They're now writing, given the growing harms from marijuana use, Americans and American lawmakers should do more to regulate it. A better approach would acknowledge that many people end up worse off when they start to use marijuana more frequently. The goal should not be elimination. It should be to slow the recent rise and perhaps partly reverse it while acknowledging that many people use marijuana safely and responsibly. So joining me now is the author and journalist, Alex Berenson. Alex, this is worthy of a deep dive conversation. And here we are with just a minute or two to spare. But this is a reversal, of course, for the New York Times, but something you've written about for a long time.
It absolutely is. You know, in 2019, I wrote Tell Your Children, which was about the psychiatric harms of cannabis and the potential long-term for psychosis and schizophrenia, which are terrible illnesses. And, you know, big weed and the legalizers and frankly, the Times itself, even though I had worked there as a reporter for many years, pushed back on me on that topic. And I think it's very, very striking now that the harms are becoming so obvious to so many people of what long-term use can do, you know, psychiatrically to teenagers' brains, that they're now acknowledging we really need to think about, you know, what we're doing with legalization, what we're doing with commercialization, what we're doing with these high potency vapes and other products. We need to reconsider what we've done.
Right. So here is New York Times finally. Oh, actually, I don't have that, but they are finally acknowledging America has a pot problem. This is one of the recent studies I'm going to show you guys. Carol, we never wanted to be legalized either, but I'm going to look right in the camera when I tell you this, both of us. Phil Berger has been aggressively trying to legalize it. Now he'll tell you it's medical marijuana.
Yeah, well, we see what happens in states that have medical marijuana. Colorado, California, Florida even has some major issues. Anybody can get a medical card. It's not hard.
Because the state says, well, we can make a lot of money here. And then the next year they legalize it.
Well, you can make a lot of money allowing farmers to grow hemp, but they don't want to do that because they think it's marijuana.
Well, you can make a lot of money actually enforcing some of these crimes and getting revenue from that to come in. Sheriffs are telling me that's not happening. So this is a very high-powered study. Deliberate suicide is linked to cannabis use. Not one time, Margot, or not multiple times, one time. This is from the New York Times. This is the amount of, since legalization, look at the climb. When you make it more available, that's what happened with cigarettes when it became, you know, socially cool, all that, it exploded.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you make it available to adults, and who else wants it? And they're not going to go through the legal mechanisms or the medical card way to get it. So it's not going to be, you know, medicinal. It's going to be on the street, fentanyl laced.
Or in a vape shop, like we talked about.
Correct.
This scares the hell out of me. Look at this.
Yeah.
Young male. And by the way, I went to school with a guy who smoked pot one time and developed schizophrenia.
Well, it's also been linked to sterilization in men. So the more you smoke pot, the lower your sperm count is.
Well, we're hearing a lot from Mike Lee, from Elon Musk, that there's a real crisis in this country with fertility. It may be fertility rates or just people having children. And it is a national security issue. So the exponential rise of marijuana seems to dovetail nicely with the statistics on that as well.
Absolutely. You know, there was a study done also on vapes themselves, and it causes male issues, ED, low sperm count, things like that. So couple vapes and then marijuana vapes, and there is in and of itself a whole area that people aren't talking about. And people need to tell their children. I'll never forget, one of my friends up here had a son that was doing that, and she pulled the study out because he didn't believe her. And she said, look, it's right here in writing.
Yeah, that's what I made my children do. I have my son so afraid of any kind of drug. He's going in for an ACL next week. He's might have done too good of a job. He's terrified of all drugs. And so I told the doctor today, I'm like, you may have to reverse a little bit of mommy's work, but don't go too far with it. But you have to tell your kids about this stuff. One hit can kill. If it's got fentanyl, we've heard about that a lot. Weed is degenerative. It directly inhibits your hormones, dopamine, mitochondria. It definitely makes you stupider. Messes with your memory. This is, if you read this, right, before you started, it's going to make you think. By the way, legislators on the Republican side want to make legal something with the side effects you're reading on your screen right now.
There's another component to this that people don't talk about is residual. And that is that THC doesn't go out of your body immediately. So let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, you smoke pot, I don't know, a week ago. You get in your car, and the residual effects could still be there. And there you have a law issue, because how are they going to determine when you did it? Yeah. And that makes sheriffs and law enforcement agencies very, very nervous.
Gateway drug.
I totally agree,
Carol. We know that studies have told us, law enforcement have told us, parents have told us, former addicts or current addicts have told us, because you need a higher high. You need more. You need more. For addicted personalities, they are stuck on a treadmill of hell, and the way they get in is pot. It's widely available. So, okay.
You forgot.
I don't know why this is here, but just to beat a dead horse, I don't know why it's here, but it's here. So, the government, the feds found Medicaid fraud was up 37.39 billion. That's taxpayer dollars. What could that money do?
A lot of good for a lot of people if it weren't fraud. But you know what's really disgusting is here we are. It's been a year. We've seen a lot of talk about waste and fraud being found and people being prosecuted. But when does it come back to the people who paid all those dollars and didn't get anything for it? The taxpayers.
Right. Where are the rebate checks?
Or where's the tax reform?
Yeah. I mean, that can be done, like I said, on a state level. You make the penalties a lot stiffer, have a lot more oversight. You know, the governor and the attorney general, when you vote Democrats, you're going to, you may not have a very aggressive system. If Jeff Jackson is tied up trying to sue Trump, you know, I mean, he'll work. I'm not saying he's not working with the feds, but if that's his mission, to obstruct Trump, is he focused on?
No, he's not focusing on things that we want him to focus on. He's all patting himself on the back, though, for getting those rent control things out of the way from Zillow.
What? Tell me about that.
Oh, he sued Zillow, and he sued them because several apartment agencies and rental agencies were basically colluding together to make sure that the prices all stayed the same. You know, so that, you know, if I had a rental unit in my apartment complex and you had one in yours, that you didn't lower yours to the point that it caused more demand for you and less for me. So we got together and just said, we're going to keep them all at $1,500. He's settled. I do too. But is that the top priority for us, Sloan? I just need to know. Is that?
It's not the top, but I mean, I think if you'd ask people, affordable housing is a problem. So I bet you when he runs for reelection, he's going to run on, look what I did for affordable housing, because if everybody's pretty much price fixing, you know what I mean, around.
Yeah, but what's he done in the drug arena? I mean, I see sheriffs doing it. I don't see him doing it.
Sheriffs are doing it, yeah. And I don't see him being aggressive at all whatsoever on the sheriffs that are saying, I'm not going to work with ICE. So,
yeah. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You know, his wins feel very fluffy. I got you some reduced rates on your rentals, and we're not going to have auto dialers calling you, and we're going to keep the phone fraud down. Dude, but I'll go after Trump all day long.
Right. No, I don't like that. I mean, I'm a Republican. I don't like that. I mean, you know, obviously it's the will of the people. We voted for Trump in this state. It's not like we're a blue state.
No, we're not. We're not purple either, Tommy.
No, we voted for that. So speaking of, I did not upload the video. I apologize for Watley, but there's a video out there. I think right now, if this is fair to say, we're getting a sample of what it's going to be like in the general if Watley is able to win this thing.
Well, since you didn't upload it, let's just talk about it for a second. Hometown Holler, who is a competing podcast on the Democrat side, and I'm just going to give them their praise. They do a good job. I mean, they do a good job because I'll watch them, because I learn stuff from them. But what they talked about is how much research they'd done about Michael Watley not paying speeding tickets, not showing up for court dates for speeding tickets, ignoring speeding tickets, and or reduce speeding tickets. And they said, look, this is not the end of the world, but there is a piece of it that is kind of interesting. Michael
Law and order.
Wiley he's an attorney. He's an attorney. You don't just
If you're running on Law and Order and you don't show up for your own court date,
right.
Like, I would be scared as hell that I'd be arrested.
Twice he didn't show up. And he's a licensed attorney, and I'm pretty sure that that's probably not part of their bar oath or whatever they take.
Well, it's just elitist. Who do you think
Very.
you are? We all have to go to our court date. I mean, I thought they would sign a warrant out for you.
They probably did. Now, that part I didn't notice in the video. I just found it interesting because they even said, look, this is not the end of the world kind of stuff. It just shows a pattern of elitism, feeling like I'm above the law and I don't have the same standards as everybody else.
Well, it's exactly what we've seen. I mean, Wally is not traveling to different counties like Don Brown is and asking, humbly presenting your application, right? Because when you're running for office, you are applying for a job.
Right.
You want to meet with your employers. He hasn't been around anywhere. He's never asked me for the vote, never asked you for the vote or grassroots leaders. So,
well, why would he need to when he's gone to the RNC and said, give me money? He got he went and got the 2 committee people and the chair to help him get a special qualifier for money that other people running do not get.
Right. So he's got that habit of putting himself at the top.
Correct.
Well, there's another Senate candidate that has developed some habits that we must address now because it has to do with us. So here is a report from the Assembly, which, by the way, I'll be honest with you, I would not have. This is Michelle Morrow. She is also a Senate candidate. We talked about our feelings about her before, because we're vetting candidates for office.
Well, it's not just vetting. We have our own personal experiences with her. It's not just vetting.
Well, we're going to talk about that for sure. But she came into this race late, and that's kind of how we feel. So the Assembly is really where I learned the details about Michelle Morrow's divorce, and they conveniently left this out of this 9,000 word War and Peace. In fact, the reporter, Carly Brousseau, is so much like Michelle in that they write these War and Peace tomes that they really believe that people want to read.
But I found that article to be just gossipy in a way. Some of it was inaccurate. We're
going to clear that up. But it presented a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is this chick in the Assembly first wrote about Michelle's divorce. You and I both went online and defended her and said that is inappropriate. Why? She wasn't running for office at the time. She was a private citizen.
True. And not only that, I mean, I honestly refused to address that in the beginning because I felt like that was way out of bounds. There's children involved. There's other people involved in the family. And I thought that was just out of bounds. I try to really keep it on the candidate or on the person. And that was just so far out of bounds. But we all know how the press is about out of bounds.
Now it's inbounds. And the reason is she's running for Senate. Again, her branding, and I know because I helped create it, is Christian homeschool mom. And that's what she bills herself all the time. So when that's your bona fides, then things that you do that counteract that are up for discussion. I found this interesting. It opens up with talking about her, and this is what I've always known about her. She'll talk your ear off and nobody's there. So she'll go to these events. Nobody shows up. So it looks like no one came to her lunch except for 5 people, right? And that included her campaign manager and the reporter.
That's going to do it too.
That is not enthusiasm. Now, this is what I found that I'm going to need to push back on. It portrayed us as a couple of, catty gadflies. This is really not in the spirit of what happened. So I'd like to clear it up.
Well, obviously they don't write about the fact that we had we had made some discussions with her and her team about how she was going to be we invited her on, and we even stuck to the rules. Like I'd already said, I'm not going to vote for you, and I agreed to not be on the actual podcast that night so that she could deliver her message. And we had offered to give the same consistent messaging or questions to all candidates. And what you do, Sloan?
We have people on this show all the time. First of all, Michelle Morrow went back in my tweets, which I find fresh, given the shit that she's continuously putting up there that is pretty foul.
Or has put out in the past that she denies.
Yeah, well, she goes in and she finds that I have said something about Charlie Kirk, and I have in the past, and something about JD Van. The material fact is, she wanted to isolate me and make me look like I'm a Jew that doesn't like Christians. And she did it through like second replies or inferences. I was offended as hell about that, but Carly doesn't write about that. And she was supposed to be on our show and she set us up, right?
She being Michelle Morrow. We made the agreement to have her on the show, and 10 minutes before she was supposed to be on the air, she decided to publicly put a post out on X, really going after Sloan more than anything.
So, and it also says in here that something about her divorce. Her divorce, by the way, your dumbasses at the assembly, you specifically, Carly, you wrote a 44,000 word tome on her divorce. You're the one, and it's public. And here's the two things they said. Number one, that we hinted that there's a romantic involvement with her campaign manager and her. I can tell you about behavior that we've witnessed.
We being you and I.
That's right. It's CPAC.
Absolutely.
Directly.
Yeah, we were at CPAC and we were surprised to see her and her campaign manager there together.
What were they doing when we saw them when we were in back of line, like 4 people back?
They were holding hands or arm in arm holding hands.
We both saw them together. So in other words, we're not making allegations. This is about behavior. Behavior would be a campaign, okay, where people are talking about that in addition to what we've seen. Campaigns are rough, fair or unfair. They are. And most people that run for office, they're kind of like us. They expect, we get what do they call it? The spoils of outrageous force, the slings and arrow of outrageous fortune, right? You put yourself out there to run, and you put yourself out there as a mom. And Margo, you've raised the issue that a homeschool mom who runs on family, and that's important to us and voters, but who's in the mid, by the way, people aren't stupid. When you are in a very aggressive fight for custody, and you're having to campaign every day out on the road, et cetera, and you've got a 12-year-old at home.
Well, I will speak from personal experience. I've been through a custody battle with a full-time job and a jackass for an ex-husband. I'm not saying hers is. I don't know him and don't know anything about him. But things are, and I'll be honest, things have changed quite a bit in 19 years. But here's the deal: the number one thing to do is keep a stable environment for your child, because their life is being ripped apart. And the last thing they need is 2 parents going at it all the time or not being available, because they need the most stability possible.
And running for a Senate campaign at the same time. Now, look, it's important to note that as far as we know, Michelle has denied these allegations. Okay, so she's denied it. But look, when you travel, when you are a married woman with a married man all over Hills Half Acre, including to DC, etc., we would never do that. Pastors never do that. I think my husband, well, he's Israeli. I think somebody would be severely injured if I did that, right? Repeatedly. And you don't do it in politics, and you don't do it if you're a preacher. Those are the 2 things that everybody knows. So we're just going to get that cleared up because it's been written about us. And so have at it.
Have at it, Carly, but you could have gotten a much better quote. You could have
the way it's mischaracterized, but what do we expect from the liberal media? I got to tell you, that's why I'm liking Don Brown. And I'm telling you, the energy on the ground is everywhere for him. The bona fides is second to none. He's a worker. He's a doer. He's gone on. He's asked for the vote.
And he stayed above the fray on all of this. That's one thing I'll say. We had him on a space last Saturday, and other candidates came up as far as discussion. He did not engage or participate. And then mudslinging against him when we seriously witnessed, he could have taken that opening. He did not.
Yeah, Michelle has gone ham on his ass everywhere he is. She's going up and saying it. But look,
relatives.
Voters don't want crazy.
No, they don't want crazy.
They don't. But they don't want absentee, lawmakers who just push play, and which is why I want to talk to John, because I will tell you, I love primary candidates. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all inviting me on tonight.
So John, tell us where you're from and what you do for, what do you do and how'd you get involved in all this?
Yes. So I'm from Washington County, grew up here my entire life. Me and my wife, Terry, we married and lived here for 23 years, 4 kids, 5 grandkids. I grew up on a farm here with my grandfather. And then when he retired, I went to work with a larger farming operation. So I have a background in farming. I went to school at East Carolina University with a degree in criminal justice and one in construction management. And I found my footing, so to speak, in the construction management field. I'm a chief estimator for a site work company. We do work all over Eastern North Carolina, and also served in the GOP party as the party chairman for Washington County, and also the 3rd vice chair for the 1st Congressional District and the 2nd vice chair for the 1st Congressional District, which I just recently resigned from because I decided to run for the North Carolina House. I also serve as a Washington County commissioner here, elected in my first term. And I am also serving as the board chair this year, elected by my fellow commissioners. I have a service in the volunteer fire department here in Roper. If you see the fire truck behind me, I'm the fire chief here for 4 years. And I'm just really excited about running for this North Carolina House seat because I want to do something different for Washington County and the rest of the counties in the 1st district.
Go ahead. Hold on. Giving me Marco Rubio vibes. Is there a job you don't do?
Well, my wife doesn't think so. She complains all the time about me doing too much. So I live a life of service. I love helping people. I see so many needs, not only in our county, but across Eastern North Carolina. People that are struggling, and it just pulls my heartstrings, and I want to reach out and help people. And that's the way I've been my entire life, especially when it comes to jobs and when somebody is struggling with a job, that just gets me. That really gets to me good.
What's your main platform that you're running on? If you could pick 3 committees to be on, not having to work for them, what would they be? And what's your main platform to get to the House to accomplish?
Right. So agriculture is big, of course, in Eastern North Carolina. So I would have to look at that. I like the energy and also infrastructure and what we can do for Eastern North Carolina. And my main #1 goal is to bring jobs to Eastern North Carolina. That is my #1 goal. For far too long, if you look at where jobs are going, they're going west of 95, so to speak, and we're struggling here. 4 of the 6 counties that I would represent are all losing population, and I look at my kids; they can't live here. They live west of us because the jobs for them are not here, and we need to change that. And it needs to be quickly done too.
John, I want to say something to you, and I say this in the kindest way. We have the same issue in Western North Carolina. I feel like the bookends have that because I live in far Western North Carolina. And I would just ask you to think of the people up here as well, because I'm an hour and a half from Atlanta. It's literally 4-lane, the tech capital of the South, and they don't bring jobs here. So when you do that, find my representative, Carl Gillespie, and y'all work together on that.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's been happening in the past. You got the western part of the state and the eastern part of the state that need to work together against the middle, because that's where all the funding's going, and we need to spread that out just a little bit, in my opinion.
So your opponent, talk a little bit about, because I mean, here's what I see in you and in this situation. You know, you've been with the GOP, you're a party man, you've been in leadership, you've supported your opponent before, you've been on the ground, you've tried to get him elected, etc. So something must have shook you.
Yes, absolutely. So serving as a county commissioner, we went to Raleigh. I've sat down in Ed Goodwin's office with my fellow commissioners and almost begged him for money because we were short $20 million to build a new school. We were lucky enough to get one of the school grants to be able to build a school here, but we got that funding right after COVID. So there wasn't enough money to build the building that we wanted to build, and we were consolidating pre-K through 12. So every student in the county is going to one school.
Wow.
We went there and pretty much begged for the money. And he led us to believe all along the money was going to be there. And then when it came out, that $10 million that he said that we were going to get in addition to went to his pet project, which is the Harbor Towns project. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it's $15 million of taxpayer money that has been wasted on a project, $3.3 million in boats, fast ferries, they call them, that are now up for sale because it is a failed project and is a fleecing of the taxpayers of North Carolina.
So what you're really saying is he shafted the children.
Absolutely. You have two choices. The kids build a new school or fund your pet project. And he chose to fund his pet project. So it's just, and as I was going around the district to other counties and other county commissioners, I asked them, I said, look, what's your stance with Ed? And it was a repeat story all along. You know, we're not getting the service that we need. So my second thing is to have great constituent services. That's what our representative is supposed to be for. He's supposed to be the voice of the people in Raleigh, not the other way around. And so I have promised everyone that I've talked to that you will have an open door in Raleigh. When you come to Raleigh, you will be able to get in my office and you will have a return phone call, and we're going to work on the priorities that you want to work on to try and get them done for Eastern North Carolina.
Well, you know what you need? You need to bring your wife up there. You need to bring your wife to run constituent services, because I can already tell it will get done.
Yes.
So I have some fast fire questions for you. Do you support removing illegal aliens with ICE?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you on board with President Trump's agenda?
Yes. Look, I went to the national convention and supported Trump this last time as an alternate delegate. So I'm right there with him all the way.
Well, I have to butt in. Trump is not doing a good job on this marijuana thing. We just talked about it. And as you may have heard, Phil Berger and others have been trying to legalize pot. Trump supports that. I don't support that. Would you stand against legalizing marijuana, even medical marijuana in North Carolina?
Yeah, so I don't think that we need to legalize marijuana. I would have to look at the medical benefits of it, non-smokable, and there would have to be a litany of restrictions on that. So I'm open to it, but I'm not saying it's going to be easy to get through. There would have to be all kinds of restrictions on it, because I do believe there are some potential health benefits for some individuals. But again, I would be very apprehensive, and I would want to know that all those rules and regulations are in place so that it's not abused. I'll be honest with you, I don't like going down the road or walking down the sidewalk and smelling that stuff. And also what it does to the people, the citizens around that use it.
Well, I mean, New York Times just finally came out and said we have a marijuana problem, duh. And now all of this, I mean, look, yes, one hit of this can cause psychosis in people, and it's really failing our young men. But the problem that we're having is states that legalize it with legislators like yourself will go in and say, okay, we'll do special purpose, allowances. And then they see, wow, the tax money is so great. We're just going to allow a little bit more and a little bit more. And then what we find is legislators who need money in their district, it's kind of like the mafia, you know?
Absolutely. I had a discussion.
Or this will, yeah.
I had a discussion with a farmer, and he was talking about medical marijuana and what it could do for them as far as growing it on the farm and that kind of stuff. I said that, I get it. I said, but I'm not in support of legalized marijuana across the board. That's not going to happen on my watch.
Well, I have one more question. Since you're active in party politics, are you going to come to conventions even if you are in the House of Representatives for the state?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Will you continue to participate?
Absolutely. 100%.
And would you support a felony clause? And would you support a felony clause?
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
without a doubt.
If you don't come to the conventions, John, and we all know this, that's where they plot your demise when you're not there.
Absolutely. That is true. I have seen that.
Well, John, it's been great to get to know you. How can people find you? What's your website? Do you have a donation button on your website? Absolutely.
Spurill for nchouse.com. You can donate right through that. I'll give you my phone number. Cell phone is 252-508-6912. Feel free to call me. Anyone out there. It's printed right on my business card, and that is my number one thing. I am going to talk to the people. I have told several people I don't know everything, and I want to start committees to hear what those people have to say and bring their voice to Raleigh. That's my number one promise, is bringing their voice to Raleigh and working for Eastern North Carolina. And that's what I'm going to do.
Well, we look forward to hearing that you won.
Absolutely.
Well,
thanks, John.
Absolutely. Well,
thank y'all so much.
On with us. We'll keep up with you on the trail. Bye-bye. I like him.
I do too. Very soft-spoken, but very much a partnering kind of guy.
He's a doer.
Yeah.
He's a doer. So, the marijuana issue, we're going to have to talk about, we're going to have to talk this out because a lot of legislators feel that way. And by the way, they get duped just like that foreign doctors bill. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. This has been very exciting. So Thursday night, I'm gone. I'm doing a ride along with Craven County Sheriff on Vape Shop. So I'll be very, very busy. We're back on Sunday night. We're back next week.
And Sunday, we're going to have some young guns on. We're going to have some young folks running for the House. Wyatt Gable will be here. Well, it's good to see Wyatt. He set the tone, and I'm glad that he's coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have a lot going on, and we'll keep you posted. But thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Bye. Hold on. Let me set my outro video. Guys, we're all messed up tonight.
You are.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.